The shouting came first. Then, silence. A silence so sharp it made every shopper stop and stare. Near the jewelry counter sat a trembling young girl in a wheelchair, tears carving paths down her pale cheeks. Across from her, the store manager's angry voice echoed like thunder. "You can't just roll in here and take what you want," he barked, holding up a small silver bracelet as if it were proof in a trial. The girl's lips quivered, her hands shook uncontrollably, and all she could whisper was, "I didn't steal it. I promise." Around her, phones were already raised. Some people recorded, others whispered, judgment filling the air faster than truth ever could. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and doing what's right, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Your support helps keep stories of compassion alive. Among the crowd stood a man named Ethan Ward. A single father in his mid-30s. Exhaustion written in the lines beneath his eyes, but warmth still flickering behind them. He was there with his 10-year-old daughter, Maya, shopping for a small birthday gift they'd saved months to afford. Ethan knew what it meant to count every dollar, to choose between bills and a little joy. Maybe that's why, when he saw the humiliated girl in the wheelchair, something inside him broke. He didn't see a thief. He saw a frightened child, fragile, overwhelmed, and utterly alone. The store manager, a tall man with a badge that read Mr. Lewis, kept pressing the accusation. The bracelet was in her lap. He insisted. The girl tried to explain that she had accidentally brushed it off the counter while reaching for her wallet. But her voice drowned beneath the waves of murmurs and stares. That was the moment Ethan stepped forward. "That's enough," he said, his voice steady but sharp enough to cut through the noise. The room stilled. Mr. Lewis turned, sneering. "And who are you supposed to be?" Ethan took a breath. Someone who still remembers what compassion looks like. He knelt beside the girl, seeing her trembling hands gripping her chair. "It's okay," he whispered softly. "You're not alone." The girl looked at him, startled by the kindness in his tone. Something she hadn't heard in far too long. Ethan turned back to the manager. "If you think she stole something, call the police. But stop treating her like she's less than human." The tension was thick enough to choke on. Red with anger, Mr. Lewis muttered about sympathy for shoplifters, but signaled for security. When two guards approached, Ethan didn't back down. "Check the footage," he demanded. "If you're going to accuse her, let the truth speak." Minutes passed. The girl sat silently, tears dripping onto her lap. Then one of the guards returned, holding a tablet. He whispered something to Mr. Lewis, and the manager's face drained of color. The footage showed it all. The bracelet had simply slid off the counter when the girl's elbow brushed it. She never took it. A ripple of shame moved through the crowd. Mr. Lewis stammered an apology, but the damage had already been done. The girl kept crying. Not because of the accusation, but because, for once, someone had stood up for her. Ethan crouched beside her again. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She nodded weakly, whispering, "Thank you, nobody ever defends me." Ethan smiled softly. "Then it's about time someone did." He and Maya offered to take her outside for air. They sat by the fountain, where the girl introduced herself. "My name's Clara Jennings," she said quietly. 17. Paralyzed since a car accident 2 years ago. My mom passed last winter. I've been living in a shelter while finishing school. Ethan listened, heart heavy with empathy. He recognized the pain, the silent battles no one else saw. Across the mall, a man in an expensive suit searched frantically. Martin Jennings, Clara's estranged father. A self-made millionaire haunted by guilt. He had been trying to find her for months. Fate had led him here today. When he finally spotted Clara near the fountain, he froze. As he approached, she turned and saw him, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Clara," he whispered, kneeling beside her. "It's me." Ethan stepped back, realizing what was happening. "Dad." Clara's voice broke, trembling. Martin wrapped his arms around her, tears spilling freely. He thanked Ethan again and again for standing up for his daughter, for being the kind of man he wished he had been. Ethan only shook his head. Anyone would have done it. But Martin met his gaze and said quietly, "No. Not everyone does what's right when no one's watching." As the crowd dispersed and calm returned, Clara looked up at Ethan. "You didn't just defend me," she said softly. "You reminded my father who I was." Ethan smiled, eyes glistening. Then maybe today wasn't an accident. Maybe it was meant to happen. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness, where every story reminds us that compassion still lives in this world. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you saw that girl being accused? As the sun set beyond the mall's glass ceiling, Ethan walked away, holding Maya's hand tightly. Behind them, a father and daughter were reunited, and a young girl who once felt invisible finally smiled again. And somewhere in that quiet space, between apology and forgiveness, kindness had once again rewritten fate.